cannot be a rule of law in any country if every citizen reserves for himself the right to choose what orders of the courts they will obey and which ones they will obey. They will not obey. We are committed to ensuring that the executive should set a good example. The executive has even a greater responsibility to obey court orders. Many times, of course, we disagree with the courts. Many times we think that the courts are wrong in their interpretation of law. Many times we think that the courts are more zealous in a matter than they ought to be. This is not an excuse to disobey law. Once a lawful order of a court has been issued and an appeal has not been preferred from a matter, or no further order of a superior court has been issued, it is the responsibility of all, particularly of the executive, to obey law.
The new judiciary is becoming more open, accessible, modern, efficient, and effective. We are launching the Judicial Marches Week, an event to be held once every year and around the country as part of our transformation program. Through the Judicial Marches Week, we seek not only to make the judiciary more accessible to the public, but also to remind ourselves of the constitutional edict that judicial authority comes from the people. Judiciary staff are marching, proud of the fact that they are in the service of the public, and appreciative of the fact that it is this public that pays our salaries, pays our allowances, and buys our cars that are pretty sleek. And they do this despite the fact that 50% of the Kenyan people live below the poverty line. We are bonded to serve. Kenya foot the bill for justice, and we have a duty to explain ourselves to them. The conversation about accountability must begin in earnest. A conversation between one arm of government and the citizenry. A conversation about our processes and procedures. A conversation about the role of the public in upholding the rule of law. A conversation about a judiciary so confident about itself and its decisions that it does not consider coming to the people as a denigration of its authority, but rather as its affirmation. Marching is an unprecedented action in the custom and traditions of Kenyan public service, but it symbolizes the kind of radical change required of us to make the institution more accessible and responsive to the public. For a long time, holding a public march was associated with protest and even violence, because the rights to assembly and demonstration were viewed with such official suspicion as to create doubt about their legitimacy. The Constitution requires a recreation of public institutions so that they can become responsive to public need and continuously accountable in the execution of their mandate. This is part of the mental shift that public institutions and servants need to make as part of Kenya's new constitutional dispensation. Custom and tradition in Kenya and elsewhere have especially muzzled judges and magistrates so that courts of law only speak through their judgments. Yet numerous times, the ineloquence of the courts has created an artificial silence, even when it was self-evident that justice was being undermined and truth was being muted. Rather than bring honor and cultivate respect as intended, this silence and the appearance of aloofness have alienated many people from our courts and other institutions.